The much more important question than the idiocy of these surveyed New Testament Jesus biographies is, what did we learn? Well, when you look at that list on the surface, it looks like not a whole lot, except a lot of craziness. Yeah. But actually, if you dig, Hillary, underneath the surface, there's some gems there. Turns out embedded in this mess, there were some real jewels. Some very profound thinking could be done by all these misdirected and otherwise crazy conclusions. First thing we learned was that all historical analysis, no matter what the subject or what the facts, is heavily impacted by the values, experiences, and agenda of the historian. There's no way around that, folks. The person doing the writing and the scholarship has a very heavy impact on the outcome. Historians cannot present purely objective data of history without mixing in their interpretation. What historians present as objective facts are in actuality the results of a long process of research in which the subjective perception, selection, description, and organization of the objective data by the historian plays an essential role. The subjectivity of the historian is an important factor in reconstructing history. But this subjective factor renders any historical work limited and approximate. This does not mean that the historian's work necessarily will be false, but it does insist that his or her facts are approximations and the historical work is limited. What really happened is always more. The real is always more. Always more than and different from what any single person or even a collectivity of historians can perceive, describe, and systematize. The real is always more. This should give great humility and pause to any Christian who thinks he or she can privately read the Bible and privately interpret it with no assistance of community or a greater wisdom tradition. Secondly, the Second Quest taught us that the presuppositions of one's culture create a filter that determines what data gets recognized, what is collected, and what is considered important. Does it surprise you that the historians find important what's important in their own lives? This shouldn't surprise you. Does it surprise you that historians tend to pass over without even noticing what's not part of their own experience? Does it surprise you that a black athlete doesn't necessarily want to pledge allegiance to the flag and that white people get angry at that black person? Thinking he's a bum? We all have privilege in certain ways, some more, some less, and we all have filters. We all have filters. Look at these filters. See what they're thinking? Who's right, who's wrong? Third, we learn that we make historical judgments based on what seems plausible to us now in our society. Mario, it's almost time. This causes us no end of difficulty. What is plausible to a North American is not what is plausible to an African and vice versa. Neither what is plausible to a North American or to an African is plausible to an Asian. A very big help for everything we're exploring here is going home and watching the film The Gods Must Be Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
The story is set in southern Africa and features a bushman named He from the Kalahari Desert. The film also features an ecologist, Western person named Andrew Stein, along with his native assistant, and Miss Kate Thompson, a woman from civilization, who comes to teach in the mission school. How many of you have seen this movie? Beautiful. I want all of you to see it. This is good. It's funny as hell. Watch the film with a pen and notepad close by, will you? Carefully observe and jot down the beliefs and behaviors of he, noting how different they are from your beliefs and your behaviors. For example, compare Key's outlook on nature, who lives in harmony with it, to contemporary Western outlook, strive to control it, surpass it, master it. Also compare Key's outlook on time. He has no calendar, he has no clocks, to our outlook, which is ruled by calendars, ruled by clocks. In one scene, Andrew the ecologist tries to explain to Miss Kate, the teacher, that a rhinoceros instinctively stamps out fires. Miss Kate is reluctant to believe him because the natives she looks to, like, is he saying the truth? And they go like this. And of course she thinks, oh, that means no. Because, see, in her world, that does mean no. But how about their world? In some parts of the world, this means yes. Oh, but that's the wrong way to you, who are always right. Right. She assumes that because that's how she and you and I and everyone we are familiar with think and behave, then that is how everyone everywhere thinks and behaves, conveniently, just like us. So the native Africans must be indicating by their head shaking that they disagree with Andrew by shaking their head side to side. Miss Kate assumes everyone everywhere thinks and acts just like she behaves. The perfect way, her way. Miss Kate totally misunderstands the natives and consequently mistrusts Andrew. It's very comical. This is only one example among hundreds in this film that shows how culture shapes our perception, our understanding, interpretation, and language forms, whether spoken or body gestures. Many times what is plausible to a woman is not plausible to a man, and vice versa. Moreover, people from those different points of view tend to notice things that others do not. I thought this was a Catholic thing. Women will tend to notice things in the stories of Jesus that would never cross the mind of a man. And vice versa. The opposite is true as well. Don't you think women should come to the table when we study Jesus? One woman and 10,000 men. That's a good ratio, right? Folks, I got to tell you, one of the things that we have learned in recent decades, because of the Second Quest, as New Testament studies have gone international, is that there are many, many things in the stories of Jesus that United States scholars never saw. Couldn't see them. But people in Africa saw them. And they saw them because their experience is different than ours. The itches that they were scratching, explains Richard Warbaugh, are a little different than the ones we are scratching. Fourth thing we learned from the New Quest was that historical certainty is rarely possible for events even in our own lifetime, like JFK and relatively close by Abraham Lincoln, and nearly impossible given the scanty data available for antiquity. If you have become something of a skeptic, a historical skeptic, given what we've explored in the previous presentation, we should all remember that we have far more historical data about the Jesus of history than almost any other character from antiquity. If you think it would be easier to write a biography of Julius Caesar than about Jesus, you are naive. We can't do it. We cannot write a biography of Alexander the Great. We would be piecing together, scattered, filtered through our own culture, through our own experience, like Oliver Stone did, our own level of understanding, our own personal agendas. And so we have learned that the problem of creating a Jesus in our own image has not gone away. We cannot overstress the theological significance of that point. Americans want a Jesus who is American. The theological significance of that can't be overstated. United States people become profoundly disappointed when they discover that the historical Jesus was not buying American values. And the same thing can be said of a Christian from the Ivory Coast. Christian from the Ivory Coast wants Jesus Christ to buy Ivory Coast values, and he cannot tolerate a Jesus that doesn't buy those values. Same thing can be said of a Chinese person or an Asian of any stripe. Jesus has to buy values of that particular culture. Cannot tolerate a Jesus that doesn't belong to that. That's just how humans are. And a Colombian person cannot stand a Jesus that doesn't buy Colombian values. Yes, I do. Let's start exploring it, and you'll see what I mean. We need, like a heroin addict needs heroin, like an opiate addict needs opium, or whatever that's derived from it. We need a Jesus who is like us. Watch your ethnocentrism, friends. Friends, I got to tell you, we need a Jesus who is like us so much. There is no other culture on earth than that of the United States that would sing the song, "What a friend we have in Jesus." Only this culture could produce that song. Consider the word association game. You guys ever played the word association game? That's a great one. You should play it sometime. Some time ago, a poll was done by a context group scholar at Johns Hopkins University, may he rest in peace forever, my good friend, in which he played the word association name with the name Jesus in a variety of cultures around the world. Now, that's where you say a word, and the first thing that comes to your head, you say it. You say somebody's name, first thing comes to your mind, okay? So the first pool he used this game on was a group of North Americans, atheists, agnostics, Christians, and Jews. And he said, when you hear the name Jesus, what associations come to mind? They replied, forgiving, kind, patient, merciful, tender, right? I bet we'd get the same result. In fact, I tried this 2 years ago at the carnival. I tried this walking around to various people at the carnival. I got the same answers. That's what North Americans answer. Well, he didn't stop there. He got another pool of people. The same question was given to Muslims and Christians from the Middle East, people who would die to respect Jesus. That's how respectful of Jesus they are. When you hear the name Jesus, what comes to your mind? They replied, harsh, judgmental, angry, tough, severe. Now let me ask you, friends, where is Jesus closer in relationship? Americans or Middle Eastern people? So before you arrogantly say, what a poor, stupid, backward people, could it be you're the one misrepresenting Jesus? Before moving on, let me give you a little segue here. Later on tomorrow, we're going to discover the third quest and the Jesus Seminar. Oh, that's fun. The scholars of the Jesus Seminar used to meet twice per year. Once they were approached by Dutch filmmaker Paul Verhoeven. You might be familiar with his movies, huh? Are you familiar with any of these? RoboCop?
Dr. Paul Verhoeven.
Total Recall. Now Dr.
Dr. Paul.
No smoking in this building.
What are you going to do? Charge me with smoking?
Basic Instinct. Oh, what a gem this one was.
Oh, yeah.
Showgirls. We won't be showing that one at Faith in Film, otherwise fired immediately. And Sergio will get fired I wasn't even there, just by relationship. Starship Troopers. It was. They stood closely to the book. Unbeknownst to the Jesus Seminar scholars and to many people, I think even in this room, but not to Robert, I'm sure, Paul Verhoeven also maybe he's a doctor now. He's doctor. He had a master's degree in New Testament from the University of Amsterdam. Verhoeven comes over to one of the meetings of the Jesus Seminar and asked if its scholars would be willing to act as consultants on a biographical film on the life of Jesus he was planning to shoot. Said Verhoeven to the scholars of the Jesus Seminar, "I want this to be the most historically accurate movie ever made." Not only the most historically accurate Jesus film ever made, the most historically accurate movie of any historical subject ever made. Bargain was struck. Verhoeven agreed to contribute $1,000 per meeting if he would be allowed to attend and sit in on the discussions. The chairperson of the Jesus Seminar formed a committee to assist and advise Verhoeven and asked context group scholar Richard Warbaugh to be the social scientist anthropology expert on the committee. Warbaugh and about a dozen other scholars took part in the first meeting with the filmmaker. They all began brainstorming ideas. You know, everybody in the room was aware of the way Jesus always gets portrayed in typical Hollywood Jesus movies. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white European male. In King of Kings, starring Jeffrey Hunter here, as he hangs on the cross, you can see his armpits are shaved. I mean, it's totally historical nonsense. I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay, anyway. So Richard Warbaugh asked Verhoeven if the Jesus, he stops the meeting. He said, okay, hold on for a minute. I got a question. Paul Verhoeven, is the Jesus in your movie going to be a Westerner or a Middle Easterner? To which, of course, Verhoeven replies, oh, no. No blonde hair, blue eyes in my movie. No, says Warbaugh. That's not what I asked. That's not what I mean. Is your Jesus going to be a Middle Eastern macho male? Paul Verhoeven, director of Total Recall and RoboCop, answered, oh my God, no, that would never sell in the United States. To which Warbaugh responded, go to hell, I quit. Folks, we could not stand a Jesus who is not like us. But we're no different than anybody else. The Germans can't stand a non-German Jesus. The French can't stand a non-French Jesus. We all tend to create or recreate Jesus after our own image and likeness. Hey, thanks for watching. Just continue the playlist for the next part of the study. If you have further questions, this is good. They will get addressed, so keep watching. If you found value, please subscribe, like, and share. As always, questions, comments, and criticisms are most welcome. God bless you.